to have talkative Tony C. She is a motivational speaker, a life coach, and consultant. And we are here to talk about a very important issue today, and that is domestic violence. This month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and it is a subject that's really close to my heart. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. And 72% of all murder suicides involve a intimate partner. And 95% of those, I'm sorry, 94% of those victims were women. And those are statistics by the National Council Against Domestic Violence. And we're here today to just bring a little awareness and some hope and encouragement for maybe some of our women who find themselves in some difficult situations. And so, Mrs. Talkative Tony C., I'm so glad to have you as our guest here today.
Likewise, I am so glad to be here as your guest today.
So, tell me a little bit about yourself and why this topic is so important to you.
I'm talking to Tony C, and I faced a lot of adversities, and this is one of them. So a little bit about me: I love to give back any way, shape, form, or fashion. But before I was able and willing to become God's servant, I went through a lot of adversity. I overcame it, and I'm still overcoming it. So I love to give back, speak out about it, talk to several people, have all type of events just to give back the show. Those adversities do not and cannot define you unless you allow it to. So, domestic violence is one of my favorite.
And why is that so important to you? I know for me myself, um, I have experienced some domestic violence when I was a young person as well. And I think the thing that really kind of hit home for me was I had a friend who was actually murdered by her kid's father, and and left 3 kids. And um, it was a really sad time. Just thankful her children had, grandparents and support systems to really help them through this difficult time. But one of the statistics talks about just how important, with domestic violence, children who have witnessed that themselves or have been a part of that tend to suffer mental illness, and a lot of other traumas in their life. And so that's why I think it's important for us as women to be honest and let other women know that if they find themselves in these difficult situations, it's not necessarily their fault, and they can overcome it and get through it.
I totally agree. And me as well is a survivor from domestic violence.
Hmm.
And we have to hit the core of domestic violence. And the core is, sometimes we get the children be a cycle, be a recycling of what you done got brought up to. I mean, what you was raised into, what you saw as growing up. Even nowadays that you can get um young ladies that look up to the other ladies that maybe have everything, but they get abused, but they don't care because they have everything, if that makes sense. And to the younger, they like, hey, I want that. So maybe that's the way it has to be. But it's to get to it is to get to the core just as well as anything, and the core is to stop it at a young age. Allow your children, or the young children coming up, to see that how it hurts. No matter how much you get wine and dine, it hurts. And don't make no excuses for it. It wasn't hard because I was raised in an abusive household, verbally, mentally, and physically. Yes. And I vowed to myself at a young age that I wasn't going to become it. But as I got older, I gradually became my environment that I grew up in. But I didn't acknowledge it and didn't recognize it. So I would sit next to maybe a female that was like, "Oh my goodness, this guy just stole on me," or "My man just did it." I'm like, "Oh, what? That couldn't be me," but it was me. See, I wasn't convinced. I was like literally, um, I guess I transitioned my mind to comparison. I mean, comparing others. So like, well, it wasn't that bad. So maybe I'm not in an abusive relationship. Well, so when you do that comparison and contract, do not do that with other people relationships, because that will cause you, as long as you not get okay, so you think you're not getting battered because you didn't get killed, but you're getting beat mentally, physically, and emotionally every day. Getting killed is just a step away. So
Absolutely.
don't get lost in that realm of comparing your life with the next. That next might seem worse off than yours, because it's not, because y'all both is in the same thing. So once I acknowledged where I was at and how I was living and what was going on, I accept the fact that I was actually getting battered, and I accept the fact that that embarrassing move, and that ashamed, the weak feeling. I accept all that and I push through it because I look back at my children. So, do I want my children to go through the same thing as me? Do I want them to make the excuse? Do I want it to be the excuse for me, like it was for my upbringing? I didn't. So, you have to find a purpose greater than yours to fight
Mm,
enough to get out those
mm.
situations, because what was greater than mine is my children, because I would kill someone if they put their hands on my child. But you have to think, me killing someone, I'm getting took away from my children as well. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's
So
right.
we all lose. So in order for us to all win, you have to fight harder than what you think you can fight and get out that situation.
And I think you brought up a lot of key points, several. One is that, sometimes women tend to sometimes think, well, he didn't hit me. Um, but like you said, if it's emotional and it's mental, it's still abuse. And
My
it doesn't mean that it can't get to a more physical situation.
The worst abuse that scars the deepest is the verbal. Like, it was easy for me to leave the physical, but you know how long it took, and still to this day, that I transition my thoughts of listening to that person tell me I was stupid, I couldn't be nothing, who you think you are, or you are never gonna be amount to anything. All that verbal abuse. You know how long it takes to transition that out your mindset
Hmm. Hmm.
versus those scars can heal. But that verbally, consistently getting told something negative every day, all day, it's a fight. And it's almost, as long as you was in it, it might take that long for it to leave, or longer.
Hmm. And what you said is so key. I saw a statistic recently that said the average person thinks has about 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, just the average person.
Mhm.
And out of those 60 to 80 thousand thoughts, 85% of them are negative, and at least 95% of them are repetitive. And so I think that just speaks to what you said, that how it can be a continuum, because you might have gotten yourself out of that situation, that abusive situation, but if you're still saying those thoughts, remembering those negative thoughts, or remembering the negative things that was said to you, and you continue to repeat it to yourself, even long beyond you're out, like you mentioned, long beyond you're out of um, those violent situations, it still has an impact on you and how you operate and how you think about yourself. And for me personally, that's really what helped me to get out of the situations I was in, because I realized that I had to love myself more. I had to have more self worth. And once I began to really understand who I was and who I was not, it really helped me to constantly overcome some of those negative things that were said to me in those situations.
Absolutely. We can't control what pops up in our thoughts, but we absolutely can control how much we dwell on it.
Absolutely.
So, whatever pops up in those thoughts, find another thing to execute that, to make something else pop up. You don't have to think so long about it. You can think something else. So I started paying attention to that. Like we think a whole lot. And a lot of things do pop up into our brain, but we have to just poop it out the way. Like
That's
just like
right.
popcorn. It's gonna keep on popping until it's finished. But ours never finish, even when we sleep. So we have to learn how to work with it. And working with it is soon when that negative thought pop up, allow a positive thought, or allow something that you're supposed to be doing. Like, oh, I gotta go to the grocery store. Oh, shoot, let me go cook. Boom. Guess what? And then that pops out. So absolutely, definitely find a way to not stick on that one thought.
Absolutely. And I think it's important, like you said, to come up with something different. I know for myself, um, it was important for me to create some positive affirmations for myself about who I believed I was. And then also taking the time to, if I thought about some of the negative things that I may have been repeating to myself, coming up with something that was opposite of what that was. So every time that negative thought popped up, I replaced it with this other positive thought. And yes, it takes a lot of work, but we're worth it.
Yeah,
We're worth
absolutely.
every second of it.
One thing that my abuser always used to tell me, and it took that one last time to dawn on me, was, who do you think you are?
Mm,
Who do you
mm,
think you are? You are nobody. You are nothing. You was raised in nothing. Look at your parents. And he just always used to reinforce who he thought and who he made me think I was. And it took this one time that, when you have that one abuser and you've been in history of it, it's like they still can mess with your mind. So it took that one last time. It was probably like 2 years ago. I was transitioning, I'm speaking, having seminars and everything. And he called. And I'm just like, and his negative word that always used to get me, who you think you are? You ain't nothing. You this and that. So I hung up. And I let it weigh on me, but I that's how I knew I transitioned and I was getting stronger. And I was believing what I know, God know who I am. So
hmm
and reinforcing that in me, that I didn't huddle over it for so long like I used to. I wasn't down and out. So I was mad, and it had me self-reflect on myself, like, dang, well, maybe I can't accomplish this. Maybe I'm not talking to Tony C. Maybe I'm not gonna have this amazing, career for my children, and a platform, creating platforms for other people, and this and that. Maybe that isn't me. The next day though, I woke up and I was looking in the mirror. Them affirmations is a powerful, phenomenal, extraordinary way to always uplift yourself, and you looking at yourself in that mirror, because that was one of the hardest things I had to do when I had to face who I felt like I was at that time. I was brushing my teeth at this time, and I'm so mad and still questioning who I am and who I'm
Mhm.
becoming. I started laughing, looking at myself, brushing teeth, just started laughing, smiling big as I don't know what. And I'm like, why are you smiling? And I just said, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? And I just start cracking up. Like, I'm talking to Tony C. Who are you? I'm talking to Tony C, who's going to create all these platforms. I'm talking to Tony C, that the first out of the family to transition and change the cycle. Who are you? The Tony that is not going to allow her children, no matter how much it hurt, to see and witness not another member of the family getting beat on by another guy that's supposed to be a man that loves you mentally, physically, emotionally. Who am I? I am everything. I am that storm. I'm that rain. I'm that rainbow. I'm that pot of gold. I'm everything. I had to reinforce that, and it felt
Mhm.
so good. It felt so good. It even feel good when I'm talking about it. Like, I am. I am the struggle. I'm not trying to be nothing else but who God already planted me to be, and I'm just walking in the footsteps now. So whether you stay stuck to what you thought you knew of Tony, or you stay walking with the Tony that's becoming, who am I? I'm to becoming, to become.
And I think that's so important because, um, you know, I often, and I, even to this day, I still, like you said, not just the positive affirmations, I had to really dig deep and say, who am I? And so one of the key things that helped me to navigate through that, and I still do this on an ongoing basis because we continue to have challenges, even if we've moved beyond some of those experiences. And one of the things that I do and I continue to do is outline some of the promises of who God says that we are and what he promises us. And when you start to think that, who am I? I'm wonderfully and fearfully made. I am more than a conqueror. I am an overcomer. And when you really start to let
And I
those
am imperfect.
Exactly. Absolutely. And we're going to make mistakes in on this journey, but we don't let them define us. And that's why this podcast is here for us to continue to talk about the things that may have challenged us throughout our lives, but we're not letting it define who we are, and we're not staying stuck there. We're continuing to walk out the promises and what God has already destined for us to be. And I thought it was interesting too that you mentioned about purpose, that you had to, and for you, it was your children, you had to have a purpose bigger than maybe what you for yourself in order for you to realize that I do deserve better than this. I can get out of this. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, purpose come from me. I had to pray deep because I tried to kill myself 3 times.
Wow.
Yeah. So feeling hopelessness, so that purpose is just digging so deep and praying. I didn't believe in God, not at all. I didn't believe in Jehovah God, Jesus Christ. I knew I believed in, just wanted to be just pure, happy, just peaceful. I just wanted to experience seeing those. You see a person, I used to see one of my best friend, my best friend, and will always be my best friend to this day. She used to be so happy, so happy. She could be about to get kicked out her house and still so happy. And I just wanted that genuine happiness within myself, and I actually thought it was from coming from somebody else, you
Mm.
know. Um, and and as long as she was my savior to me when I was younger. That was my scapegoat. I was able to, it was either my Barbies or her. And I was able to not live in a dark, clouded space, which was my household. This as long as she was around, she was my rainbow. And that lingered into my young adult years. And I was able to stay in that relationship. It was so toxic, including myself. It was so toxic. I was still able to stay in it just as long as I had my rainbow, and my rainbow was her. Her name is Cicely, but she ended up dying. She ended up getting
Mm.
killed. And guess
Oh,
what?
well.
I didn't have my rainbow.
Mm.
I have this false imaginary life that I created with my Barbies and my rainbow. So I was only able to live that life because I had those things to make me feel like I really wasn't. It was false. So I had to face me. I had to
Mm.
face my environment. I had to face what my decisions, my choices I made, what I decided to become at that moment and everything. I had to face it. I had to face it. And when I faced it, it felt so overbearing. I felt like it wasn't the way out. And the only way out was to kill myself. I didn't have my best friend. I didn't have I didn't feel like I had no love, and I definitely didn't love myself. Um, so, but the purpose was I felt like I had a purpose because you try to kill yourself 3 times and you didn't go nowhere. I'm still here. What did that mean? You have a
That
purpose.
meant God had another purpose and another plan.
So at that moment, I just had to pray and figure out who Jehovah God and Jesus Christ was, and how can I be saved? How can I transition? This is hard because this is what I see every day, all day. And this is what I'm used to. This is what I feel like I know and I'm comfortable in it. Because you get comfortable in getting mistreated and lied to, and then take family pictures like y'all so happy. It's crazy. And it was like, how do I get out of this? Because I am so at a young age. Like I am so like to try to kill yourself 3 times. Like, yeah.
Mm.
So I had to look at my kids and I remember just saying what my mother used to tell us when we was younger. And we used to ask her, why do she stay in it? And she used to always say, it's for us. And I'm like, it's tearing us down.
Wow.
So I found myself using that same excuse. And when
Mm.
I finally heard myself, now, mind you, I said this so many times, but when I finally heard myself say it, I knew I had. See, all the bad things that he told me, yeah, he right, I was. But he forgot everything that I was good. I was never a I never settled. I'm still not a settler right now. You can't pay me. I had to go to anger management class. You know what that anger management teacher tell me 101? He said, Tony, I don't see no settle in you. You don't like to settle, do you? And I don't. So you have to remind yourself of who you are. Like, I don't settle. I like wanting more. I'm always on the move. I have always been on the move since I was a kid. I love being on the move. I'm gonna stand still and tell me this ain't you. So let's talk about what's not you instead of what the things that you was told that you're not and you can't do
Mm.
and what you are by other people. Let's reinvent you with you and God and not from what somebody else or somebody else's image of you. Let's paint your own image. And that's what we began to do. And it wasn't easy, not whatsoever. It wasn't. It took years. It wasn't easy. It was not easy. And then and you get to seeing that it's not only from a spouse, it was the company you kept around that was toxic. It was the environment that you was entering into that was toxic. And it might sometimes be your own family that's toxic.
Mm,
And mine was the one that was bigger than just a spouse. It was my family, that was way more toxic. But you don't start getting revealed this until you start revealing things to yourself and allow yourself to think differently, to see yourself differently, and to expect more. Like, no, I'm not gonna accept that anymore. No, that's not what I am. That's not what I'm about. I might accepted that yesterday, but today, no. And we have to understand that we are, because we lose this. The imperfect, we're not perfect. So when people transition, they try to be perfect, you're not perfect. So then when you make a mistake, you be down on yourself. And embrace that you're not imperfect. So you have the ability to push restart. You can push restart button as much as possible because you are on this earth imperfectly human, but you are trying to become more. That's why I always speak on it's not how you start, it's how you finish. The starting point is what creates and starts your picture. Your ending, your finish point is that you keep moving and you keep going because your image is never going to stop. Your painting will never get stopped getting painted until you die.
mm. That was just so powerful because I think that's so true. Sometimes when we allow ourselves to be in abusive situations, sometimes we start to accept it in other relationships in our lives because we're just not aware of it. But once you become aware of those patterns, then I think, and like you said, and being aware of it is the first key in order to do that. I wanted to ask you, I can't believe our time is almost up. I wanted to ask you for that woman or that man who is in a abusive situation, or maybe they, like you said, you did not necessarily think you were in an abusive situation. So, talk to me about what are some signs, in your opinion, that that we might need to be aware of that you can share with maybe young woman or a man who maybe make them to start to become aware of maybe this is not the most healthy situation to be in.
Aggressiveness, just definitely negative. I'm gonna say this real quick and very blunt. You cannot change no one but yourself. Don't even try. No one but yourself. By changing you will help others change. So if a person not supporting you, not uplifting you, and vice versa, those are signs. There's no way that you should be in a relationship that your support isn't getting valued. You not getting valued. Loving yourself. One of my clients, and I went in with this, asked me one day, and in the first time somebody ever asked me, and it tripped me up too. How do I know how I'm supposed to get loved if I never got taught how to love? Like how do I know what's real love if I never even
Hmm.
experienced real love?
Absolutely.
And that was deep to me. So we'll
It
leave you with
is.
that question. But I'm gonna give you the answer some to, and then you can start recognizing it. You know how you want to be. You know what makes you happy, right? You know what makes you feel that little bubbly feeling inside. You remember that imagination that you created when you was younger. It's still there because you're still young. You know how you want to be treated and how you want to feel. You know that feeling. That's your love. So whether you ever got taught that, because I didn't, but I know what would make me smile genuinely. We think money, but money is everywhere. You know. So hold on to what you know in your inside and do not compromise it nor negotiate it. You know that's your love. Hold on to it because that would get you would manifest that. Don't change it up for nothing or nobody. And pray on it. I'm a big prayer warrior.
Yes, prayer definitely works for sure. Well, Mrs. Tony, Talkative Tony, this has been a wonderful conversation. I always love chatting with you and getting some of your wisdom and insight. Tell us what's in store for you. I know that COVID has made us all have to pivot and do some things differently and move a little differently. What are some things that we can look forward to from Talkative Tony C?
Just tapping into these youth. More seminars, praying for more clients, but tapping into the youth.
Okay. And how can individuals get in touch with you?
Facebook, Talking to Tony C. Instagram is the best way. Well, the second best way. Talking to Tony C is at Talking to Tony C. Um, my number, that is the best way to text message. 313-288-9263. 313 area code 288-9263. That's the best way. And then guess what? YouTube, Talkative Tony C, two eyes. So Talkative Tony with two eyes, C. That's all the social media, including my email address. Talkative Tony with two eyes, C at gmail.com.
Well, Tony, we really appreciate your courage and your time and your wisdom to really talk about a topic that's really taboo in our community. But I think that the more that we can talk about it, the more that we can save some other women, we can save the young folks that you were talking about. And I think we'll keep this conversation going. Again, this month, October, is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And if you find yourself in a situation that you think you need to talk to someone, you need to get some resources, we do have a, shelter here, right here in Dayton, Ohio. The YWCA is here. They have a hotline. That number is 937-222-SAFE. And we encourage you to talk to them, talk to someone, reach out, and just know that you deserve the very best. You deserve to be happy, you deserve to be healthy, and you deserve to be whole. And
And
so
no,
we
you're
just
not the
encourage,
only one.
and no, you are not the only
You
one.
are not
It is
alone.
taboo. And a lot of people don't want to talk about it, but we're here to talk about it. And so is the Y. They're here to talk to you and help you come up with a plan that's safe for you, your children, and your family. So we just urge you again, if you would like to reach out to some local resources, that hotline again is 937-222-SAFE. And Talkative Tony C, thank you so much. And we look forward for you coming back, and we're talking about some more things of how we have not let our setbacks, our circumstances, and our challenges define who we are.
Absolutely. I can't wait. Thank you for having me. Absolutely. Y'all stay blessed.
You do too. And God bless. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.